Is mental toughness really about always pushing through no matter what? What if the real strength is knowing when to stop? This week, world champion cyclist Fem van Empel reminded us of this truth. After winning her third world title, she admitted she felt, well, nothing. No joy, no fulfillment. She said, I was more of an athlete than a person. So she did something few champions ever do. She took 6 months off, not because she was injured, not because she failed, but because she lost herself in the pursuit of achievement. She stopped racing. She started walking, baking, reconnecting with the part of her that simply enjoys being alive. And when she returned, she wasn't weaker. She was grounded, centered. She found a new gear. That's the part we rarely talk about in high performance. That real toughness isn't the absence of rest. It's the courage to press pause when your body and mind are screaming for it. As a high-performing athlete, as a high performer in anything that you do, pressure isn't going away, but how you respond to it is what defines you. Mental toughness isn't about grinding until you break. It's building the self-awareness to notice when your drive is turning into depletion. So the next time you feel off, instead of pushing harder, ask yourself, what would happen if I rested before I was actually forced to? That question can change everything because recovery isn't the reward for hard work. It's part of the work. I'm going to use an article written about Fem van Empel and use this as a lesson for all of us with regards to burnout, perfectionism, athlete identity, and recovery. And, well, of course, mental toughness. Here's the article. The article that I'm going to reference is from Cycling News. And in blue, it's highlighted here, just one of a few points that I'm going to make. But Fem talked about one of the reasons she left her sport for 6 months was because her perfectionism was taking over. And she says, that was largely my own fault. My own perfectionism caused me to lose myself as a person so that I only focused on what I was good at. I achieved a lot with that. I really researched everything in detail to do everything as well as possible in terms of training, nutrition, rest. If I hadn't done one of those things perfectly, I wondered if I was ready. Looking back now, that's nonsense. There's 2 ways to look at your to-do list. And when I say your to-do list, I mean all of the things, nutrition, sleep, training, all of the things that you know is going to help you perform. Every athlete needs a to-do list. Every athlete like Fem needs to go out and research all the ways to optimize their performance. But there's a difference between following through on your list of to-dos and feeling in control and ready versus this list controlling you. So I believe what Fem is saying is that she has this to-do list. She has researched all of the ways to make her optimize her performance. And at the beginning, she was achieving a lot. It was working. It made her feel in control. It made her feel ready. And then at some point, it shifted. No longer did she feel in control. She felt as though she was being controlled. And if she didn't do it perfectly, then that caused her to doubt. And that is because she was being controlled by the list instead of her list helping her to feel in control and ready to compete. So I ask you, go ahead and do the research. Please understand and learn what pieces of nutrition and sleep and training will optimize your performance. And then you'll have a list. Now, for those of you, that list might be very detailed, very specific. For other people, it will still be structured, but maybe less detailed, less specific. That doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong as long as it works for you. And how it's going to work for you is that after you or while you're going through your list, you're increasing your level of perceived control. You're increasing your level of perceived confidence. You're increasing your level of perceived readiness. It's not working for you if you feel that you are being controlled by all of these things. And if you don't do it exactly right, well, again, it's controlling you and putting you down. In other words, causing you to doubt yourself. This is obviously what happened to Fem, and therefore she experienced burnout. Now, burnout, I want to address right now, is an interesting topic, an interesting word, because we all know the word, but let's really understand what it means. Burnout has 3 dimensions. The first dimension is emotional and mental exhaustion. Now, once you're emotionally and mentally exhausted, some physical exhaustion can take over, but at first it's emotional and mental exhaustion. And Fem talked about how she was she didn't even have joy for winning anymore. It was more of a relief that she won than a true enjoyment. So that's one sign that she's just emotionally exhausted. Second dimension is something we call devaluation or depersonalization. And that means that the sport that you once loved, you just no longer feel that connection anymore. You just no longer have that heart motivation. Now you're just muscling through, you're forcing yourself through, you're just trying to get to the end with a good result, but you're just trying to get to the end. That's depersonalization, devaluation. You just don't have what I call heart motivation as you once did. Now, it may still be there, but it's being sheltered. It's being overshadowed by something else. This pressure to perform well. Not only for you, but maybe from others as well. And then the third dimension of burnout is low perceived performance. You just don't feel like you're doing a good enough job. And perhaps what Fem talked about with regards to if she didn't do everything perfectly, then she doubted her readiness. Well, that might be a sign of experiencing burnout, this low perceived confidence, not feeling like you're doing a good enough job. And the only way, if you are experiencing extreme burnout, so there's various levels, but if you are experiencing extreme burnout, just like Fem, recovery is what is going to be required. And I'm not talking about 15 minutes. I'm not talking about a day. In Fem's case, she took 6 months. So I want to ask you right now, if you're starting to feel emotionally and mental exhaustion, if you're starting to feel a little or a lot of devaluation, depersonalization, you just don't love your sport as you want to, as you used to, that heart just isn't there as much, and you have low perceived performance, if you don't do things exactly right, it means you're not ready. It means you really need to look at this recovery piece, and you may not need 6 months, so that is not what I'm saying, but you're going to want to take some recovery breaks. Now, Fem talked about taking recovery. Now, she renewed her identity as a person and not just an athlete, but she took things, it sounds like she did a lot of active recovery in her walking and in her baking. That is taking yourself out of one task and putting yourself into another that's creating some calm and peace and some, enjoyment. So what for you is active recovery? Again, I'm not saying you have to take 6 months to do that, but start, putting these active recovery pieces in your day consistently, frequently. Start doing things outside of your sport so that you can prevent, ever experiencing what Fem experienced. Let me direct your attention back to this quote. I was more of an athlete than a person. And now I know I am more than just Fem the cyclist. That period lasted about a year and a half to 2 years. I know that there's a lot of pride in being an athlete. I also know that just like Fem, it can create unnecessary negative pressure and, take the love and enjoyment away from your sport. This is what I suggest you do. Ask yourself, when you are at your best, and I'm not just saying in your sport, when you are at your best person, how would you characterize yourself? Always remember that is your identity. Who you are when you are your most beautiful self. That is who you are inside. And then now you can apply that beautiful part of yourself to all the various roles you have in life. And sport is one of those roles. It's one of the greatest things that you can learn about yourself. And again, don't wait to have to learn it like Fem did. And I could share with you many other athletes who had to learn this same lesson the same hard way that Fem did. You don't have to do that. Ask yourself right now, who are you? Just go over three attributes, 3 strengths that you already have that make you the best person, a beautiful person. And then own that and bring that to all aspects of your life, including your sport. Along those lines, I also want to highlight this quote. I also talked to other athletes who had gone through the same thing. That slowly made me realize that I had to stay true to myself. I started asking myself what I enjoy doing. The people who follow me know that I like baking, gardening, very normal things that I really enjoy. So first of all, Fem is not alone. As I just mentioned, there are many other athletes who had to learn this lesson. And let's not be the athlete that has to take burnout in order to learn this. Let's look at this right away. Not only do I want you to identify who you are when you're your best and all of your attributes, but start thinking about all the things, the active recovery things, the activities outside of your sport that you can start to not just do when you have the time, and really start to incorporate them in your daily lives. You are not alone, and you can get ahead of this. And the last quote that I want to touch upon is this. I realized that if I stopped now, I would have had a wonderful career with many great titles, Van Empel said, but I'm not done yet. On Sunday, I'll be wearing that beautiful white jersey with stripes. I'm going to enjoy it immensely, which I may not have done enough in recent years, but luckily, I get to ride in the rainbow jersey for one more winter. This is such a beautiful example of an athlete who didn't need to drop out of her sport. Because she was burnt out and because she had to go through some of these, again, reframing her identity and understanding perfectionism and also recovering from her sport because of burnout, she was able to do just that, reframe her mindset, recover from burnout, and not only is she back in her sport, competing well, but she's back in her sport, enjoying her high performance, loving her sport, not ready anytime soon to be done. Now, she did take those 6 months off, and that's beautiful for her. I'm here to help you prevent the need for taking 6 months or any time off your sport due to burnout. In closing, world champion Fem van Empel realized that success means nothing when you lose yourself along the way. After her 3rd title, she stepped away from racing, not because she was weak, but because she was strong enough to stop. During her 6-month break, she rediscovered joy, balance, and identity beyond performance. And when she returned, she came back sharper, freer, and truly ready. Because mental toughness isn't just about pushing harder. It's about knowing when to pause. What would it look like if you gave yourself permission to reset before burnout hits?